Now, we are going to talk about confusibles. What are confusibles? These are words that they sound very, they may have the same meaning, but they have different, they belong to different parts of speech. So we want to look at some of them. The first one we're going to look at is the word, we look at the word sight and sight, and the word sight. Now these three words, they have the same pronunciation, but they are very different in meaning. Now the first one talks about what is seen. What is seen. The second one is talking about to make reference to something. To make reference to something. And the third one is talking about a location. A location. So we can say, example like, she was sighted. Now remember, this can be a noun and it can be a verb. This title can be a noun and it can be a verb. This can be a noun and it can what? Can be a verb. So like I said, this is talking about what is seen. This is talking about to make, to refer to something, to refer to something. And this one is what talking about location. So I can say, his sight is wonderful. His sight is wonderful. Here we are talking about his ability to see something that he can see very well. His sight is wonderful. Now in that instance, sight is being used as what? As a noun. But look at this example. We sighted her from afar. In that instance, sighted is talking about seeing. So that's the verb. So we sighted her from afar. Look at the second example under, let's look at sight. Now sight, I said to refer to something. Now, we said what? She sighted the example of the armed robber. She cited the example, that is, she referred to what? The armed robber as an example of something. So in that instance, cite is what? Is to refer to something. Now, but cite here is talking about a location. A location. The company was cited. The company was cited in a densely populated area. In a densely populated area. So that is the first one we are going to look at. Then we look at another example. Now under confusible too, we look at some expressions that are not correct. So let's look at some example again. Look at the two words borrow and lend. That's our number 2. Borrow and lend. Borrow and lend. Borrow means to give out on loan, while lend means to receive on loan. So you can say what? If you collected something for someone, that makes you what? The borrower. And the person who gave you that thing becomes what? The lender. So I want us to remember, you borrow from and you lend to. Please don't forget that. You borrow from, but you lend to. So I borrow some money from my friend. I borrow some money from my friend. That means that what? I receive this as what? As a loan. So I can say what? My friend lent me some money. That makes my friend's what? It makes him the one who gave it to me. So borrow means what? To give out on loan, and lend means what? To receive on loan. Now let's look at some another example, another word, another expression that is very confusing. Now, look at this example. Running and running. Running. Now, somebody will say, I have a running nose, or my nose is running, and the person uses what? ing. That is wrong. Now, running means to pass out liquid. Running. R-U-N-N-Y. To pass out something liquid. So I can talk about, I have a running nose. So, running nose. Not running. Of course, running means what? To sprint. That is R-U-N-N-I-G. So when you want to say that maybe something liquid is coming out of your nose, you will say, I have what? A running nose. Not I have what? The running nose. So please, we have to be very, very careful when we make use of that. Now, that is number 3. Now let's look at number 4. Number 4 is also very important. Look at the two words, damage and damages. Damage and damages. Now, when we talk about damage, the word damage refers to any physical destruction that is done to somebody else's property or even your property. So damage is talking about the physical destruction that is done to something. But when we talk about damages, the plural of damage is not damages. So I can say, even when we say something like the rainstorm caused a lot of dash. Look at that example. The rainstorm caused a lot of dash. A. Damage. B. Damages. And so on and so forth. Even if the distortion was very, very much, I can say damages. What I would say was the rainstorm caused a lot of damage. So damage is uncountable. So the rainstorm caused a lot of what? Damage, or it caused much damage to the society. Now, but what is damages? Damages is the money or anything that is given to you as a compensation for the damage done to what? To your property. For instance, as I was driving on the road, maybe someone crashes my car. Now, that person, the money the person pays to me because what? My damages. Or somebody takes another person to a court, maybe for damaging his or her property. Anything that person receives as a compensation is called damages. So, damages is referring to what? To anything that you receive as a form of compensation for the destruction that is done to what? To your property. Now that is that. Let's look at another expression, which is what? Let's look at some two expressions. Let's look at number 5, collaborate, and then corroborate. Collaborate and corroborate. Now, what does it mean to collaborate? To collaborate means what? To join someone else to do something. When you work in partnership with someone, that's the collaboration. But when we talk about corroboration, when you say something to affirm or to give support to what somebody has said before or has done before. So, I can say that the statement of the accused corroborated the claim the man made earlier. The statement of the accused corroborated the statement the man made earlier. But when we talk about corroborate, that means what? To work in partnership with another person. So that is exactly what that means. Now let's look at another expression. Let's look at another expression. That should be number 6. Now that is, people normally say lacking behind. Lacking behind. And this is wrong. You don't say we are lacking behind. That When you want to say that you are maybe running, you are running short of your schedules, or maybe you are running out of time. You understand? We don't say we are lagging behind. But what we say is what? We are lagging behind. We are lagging behind. That is, you are not running. You are not running according to the schedule that you are fighting the drum for your song. So we don't say we are lagging behind, but we say we are what? We are lagging behind. Now let's consider another example. Let's consider another word. Now let's look at the word grind and ground. That is number 7. Grind and ground. Now, ground. Grind and ground. Now, the past tense of the verb grind. The past tense of the verb grind is what? Ground. And the past participle is also what? Ground. Now, but when you look at the verb, the word ground, the past tense of ground is what? Grounded. While the past participle is what? Is grounded. Remember, we are looking at these words as what? As nouns. Sorry, as verbs. So, the past tense of grind is what? Ground. That is to reduce something what? Into powder form. Now, so we don't say what do you call it? Grinded. Now let's assume you go to the market and you want to buy some powder pepper. You don't say, excuse me ma'am, I want to buy some grounded pepper. It's wrong. But you say what? I want to buy some ground pepper. Not I want to buy some grounded pepper. That is very, very wrong. So we say the past tense of grind is what? Is ground. And the past tense of ground is what? Is grounded. But when we talk about ground as an adjective, we are talking about something that has been reduced what? Into powder form. That is number 7. Let's look at number 8. People normally say this, and it's very, very wrong. When we say tricky and trickish. Tricky and trickish. Tricky and trickish. Now, there is nothing like trickish in English. It is wrong to say, this question is very trickish. It's wrong. So we don't say the question is very trickish, but we say the question is very tricky. The question is very tricky. Now, that will also lead me to something very similar to that. We say peppery. Peppery and pepperish. Peppery and pepperish. Now, there is nothing like pepperish. It's actually what? Peppery. When you have, maybe your food is too saucy, then we can say it is what? It is a pepperish. But actually what? Peppery. So, pepperish is wrong and trickish is wrong. So we say this question is what? Is tricky and the soup is what? Peppery. Now, let's consider some other example. Look at some other example. Now, let's look at something like, stationary and stationary. Stationary, that should be number 9. Stationary and stationary. Stationary and stationary. Stationary and stationary. Now, this is very, very important. Now, the word stationary means fixed or not mobile. The word stationary means what? Fixed or not mobile. So we talk about a vehicle that has been abandoned somewhere, we can say the vehicle is stationary. But when you talk about stationary, stationary is talking about writing material like your pen, your paper, your eraser, your whatever. Anything I use what in writing. And I need to say something here. There is the plural of stationary is not stationary. In fact, it does not have plural. When you write something like this, you are wrong. So stationary is what? Is stationary, not stationaries. So it doesn't have what? A plural. It is uncountable. So we say stationary, that is E here. Let me write it properly. So stationary is what? Stationary, not stationaries. Now we have stationary, I told you what this is, fixed, not mobile. Why this one means what? Is when you're talking about writing material or anything that we use to write. Now let me talk about another word, that's number 10. I want to differentiate between two words. We remember we are talking about confusibles. Number 10, we have guide and guard. Guide and guard. I always ask my students this, and the kind of responses I get are always very funny. Now, what's the difference between a guide and a guard? Remember, this is pronounced as what? Guide. Guide. And this is pronounced as what? As guard. 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 Now, the two words can be used as what? As verb and as nouns. The same also apply here. It can be used as what? As a noun and as a verb. Now, what does it mean to guide? To guide means what? To lead or to direct someone in the path of that he or she should go. So guide means what? That's the first one. To lead or to direct someone in the path that he or she is to go. But when we talk about guard, guard means what? To protect. To give someone shelter from danger or harm. So that's what it means. So they don't have the same meaning. Guide means what? To lead or to direct, while guard means what? To protect. That is the difference between guard and guide. Guide and guard. Now let's look at some other examples. Some other examples. Now you hear people say something like, there are some expressions that, before I go to that, let me talk about faithful and faithful. Faithful and faithful. Now these two words, they sound very, very alike, but they are very different. Now what is faithful? F-A-T-E-F-U-L. Now it's used to refer to something or when something bad happened. The day or time something bad happened. A sorrowful or an important event that was a bad one. Now, when we talk about faithful, we are talking about being loyal, being true to one's to the facts. So, when I talk about faithful, I can say on that faithful day, not on that faithful. So, this means that what? The day something terrible happened. The day something terrible. Don't say, so this is correct. But we don't say on that faithful day. This is wrong. So the day something terrible happened, that is faithful, and this one means what? Loyal. So we can have something of that nature. Now we look at the expression. Now let's look at consider some expressions that are very, very wrong that people use. We hear somebody say nook and corners. Nook and corners. Now, you don't say nook and corner. You say what? Nook and crannies. Nook and crannies. So you search for somebody, all over. So we don't say nook and corners, but you say what? Nook and crannies. Another one is when we talk about, we say more grease to your elbow. More grease to your elbow. That is an expression that is wrong. More grease to your elbow. To your elbow. What do we say? You say more power. More power to your elbow. More power to your elbow. Then we also look at the expression. We say birds of the same feather. Birds of the same feather. The same feather, flock together. That is wrong. You say birds of a feather, not birds of the same feather. You say birds of a feather. So we don't say birds of the same feather. So we don't say nook and corner, but we say nook and what? And crannies. We don't say more grease to your elbow, but we say what? More power to your elbow. We don't say birds of the same feather, but we say birds of what? Of a feather. Now, that is expression that we normally also use. We say you can't eat your cake and have it. You can't eat your cake and have it. It's a wrong expression. It is you can't have your cake and eat it. So this concludes our discussion of confusibles.